morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sedgwick County Board of County Commission meeting. I want to welcome those joining online, those joining on Facebook and YouTube, and all of you that are joining us here in person. We're glad that you're here today. When you walked in, you could have grabbed a meeting agenda packet. We always encourage you to do that so you can follow along with what we're covering today. And you can always access all the supporting documents at sedgwickcounty.org. We also encourage you to do that as well. I want to make a quick note that Commissioner Meitzner is joining us online via Zoom this morning. And we do have a lot on the agenda today, so I want to get us right to work. So I'll call the meeting to order for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. Madam Clerk, first item, please.
Invocation to be led by Rabbi Sumilik Greenberg, Chabad of Wichita. Please remain standing for the flag salute.
And I don't see the rabbi here this morning. Do I? I do not. So we will honor this moment with a moment of silence. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, very good. Madam Clerk, next item.
Roll call. Commissioner Blubaugh.
Present.
Commissioner Wise.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Present.
Chairman Beatty.
Present. Next item.
County announcements.
Hey, good morning, Nicole.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Nicole Gibbs of Strategic Communications. First, I'd like to introduce Julie Simpson of Emergency Management. She is here to share information about the upcoming Safety Expo. Ma'am?
Hey, Julie, good morning.
All right, thank you. Good morning. Well, September is National Preparedness Month, and to kick things off, we have Emergency Preparedness Expo coming up on September 13th. We've got a large planning committee that has been working many hours behind the scenes for the last several months planning it. And here today, I have Ann Hauk. She is our local Emergency Planning Committee chairperson. She's been with us now for 8 years, but again, just want to give her an opportunity to talk about what the event is. And then I have Jessica Pereira from the Sedgwick County Health Department, Public Health Emergency Preparedness. She is the manager of that program. So I'll hand it over to them so they can talk about a little bit about what this event is.
Okay, Ann, Jessica, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. Well, my name is Ann Hauk. As Julie said, I'm the chair of the Local Emergency Planning Committee, and we have put together an event for Sedgwick County. My job over the past 8 years has been to help educate our first responders, our fire department, our police department, everybody at that first responder level. And so this year, my focus and my goal was to bring the education to the community, and by doing that is to bring all of our community resources to one location so our community members can find one spot to gather and find out about all of the resources in Sedgwick County that help keep them safe and do their job every day to give us resilient resources.
Yes, this event is going to be fantastic. It's being hosted at Century 2 on September 13th from 10 to 2. It's open and free to the public. There's going to be lots of fun and family-friendly events. We'll have Touch the Trucks. All of our first responders are bringing emergency vehicles out. We'll have our fire departments rappelling from the ceiling, so it'll be great. Evergy, one of our amazing sponsors, will be out there doing electrical safety, and so they'll be doing a demonstration that starts at 11. And there's going to be some great booths and vendors set up, all focused on emergency preparedness and safety. And safety isn't just big disasters. It can be things that happen in your home or while you're driving to work, witnessing a car accident, and things like that. So it's really important that our community is prepared for these types of events. And this event is going to be phenomenal. We are really excited. We're going to have lots of opportunities from the health department with lead testing and overdose prevention and our maternal and family health. It's going to be amazing. We also will be having lots of wonderful sponsors like Hazmat Response, and
we've got Rosie's Rabbiters that are coming out, bringing the rabbits out. We've got the VFW coming to talk about veteran suicide prevention. We have a fall prevention coalition coming. Rusty at Quick Lane to talk about vehicle safety and maintenance. But like Jessica said, it's not just about when we run into a tornado or a flood, but it is more of our personal safety and mental health awareness as well. So we wanted to bring, again, all of it back to one location. So the resources that we don't know about, you don't know about them until you need them, and we don't want you to have to run and try and find them. The other piece that we put together is Sedgwick County will have their very first emergency guidebook. So as we all know, when the internet goes down or your phone goes down, you have no resources. So we have prepared an emergency guidebook that the first 500 people that are in attendance will receive.
Well, this sounds like an incredible event. You put a lot of work into this thing. So again, September the 13th, 10 a.m., 2 p.m., free admission.
Correct.
It's at Century 2. So we'll see if we can get all the news out, make sure everybody's aware, and with some public announcements. And this sounds like it's going to be wonderful. Thanks for all the effort you guys are putting into
Thank you
this.
for allowing us.
Thanks for allowing us to share today.
You bet. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, I have Keith Long and Amanda Duncan from the Workforce Alliance of South Central Kansas. They're here to share about a few grant projects and training opportunities that are available.
Yeah, Keith, Amanda, welcome. We're glad you guys are here.
Good morning, Chairman Beatty and Commissioners. Thank you very much for letting us be here today. We got some things to chat about with you. I do want to just quickly, I want to recognize Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Howell chairs what we call the Chief Elected Officials Board. And so what the Workforce Alliance does, we manage the federal job training dollars that come to this region. And with that, there's local accountability. In the event we were to misspend any of these dollars or had disallowed cost, it'd be the local governments who would have to pay the federal government back. Rest assured, we've never had a disallowed cost in well over 30 plus years that I've been part of this. But there is that accountability and oversight. And this is made up of the 5 other counties with Sedgwick that are in the region, City of Wichita. And again, this is extra work for you in a way, a lot of detail, but I do appreciate your leadership, and so your fellow commissioners from around the region do as well. So Workforce Alliance, again, I mentioned we manage the federal job training dollars. Our board of directors a long time ago said that's not enough. You have to have significant community impact beyond those immediate dollars. So we leverage resources and align services with partners all across our community, create significant community impact. I do want to recognize one of my board members who's here today, our Vice Chair, Scott Stiles with Schaefer. Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate his leadership. And what I'm going to have Amanda talk about is a couple of our grant opportunities that we received that do just that line up with local priorities and have community impact beyond the funding that we get annually from the federal government. So Amanda, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, good. Welcome, Amanda.
Good morning. We have some exciting news to talk about. 2 new grant programs that we're bringing to Sedgwick County. The first one is an Environmental Protection Agency Brownfield Job Training Grant. This program is about a 40-year-old program that exists to help remediate contaminated sites and then prepare them for reuse and make, construction, and then have them be sites that then can be built upon and create economic development for the community. This is the first time Kansas has been awarded this grant training program, and it's a $500,000 program that will run over 2 years, and will hope to train 90 people a year for careers in environmental programs and construction. So primarily OSHA and hazmat, and then we will also train individuals to earn their commercial driver's license with a hazardous waste endorsement, as well as asbestos remediation. So this is a very exciting program, and it is also a renewable program. So other communities that have received this are able to get awarded subsequent after the initial grant. So we're excited about the possibility for some sustainable funding to come in for redevelopment of sites in Sedgwick County. The second program that we want to talk about is a homeless veterans reintegration program. This is also a program that's been around since the 80s, and also a first time that the state of Kansas has received this award. This is a $1.5 million award over 3 years, and we will train veterans who are experiencing homelessness, those who are at risk of homelessness, and any veteran who's releasing from incarceration. So there are a number of dollars that can be used for both job training as well as wraparound supportive services to assist with transportation, housing, and other things that would help somebody obtain employment employment. This is a great program that we're excited about. Again, that is a longstanding program that could lead to sustainable funds coming on a regular basis into the community. So we're very excited for this. Both of those kicked off this week, accepting referrals for individuals who are interested in participating. Two other quick announcements. One, we have a very large, here's our workshop calendar for the month. We are still offering digital skills under the DOC program with the state of Kansas. That's Digital Opportunities to Connect Kansans. And this ranges everything from basic computers through digital certifications, again, at no cost. We teach classes at all of our workforce center locations, and we can come on site to community partners. And then the last very quick announcement, we're having a very large job fair next week. This is in anticipation of Gillies, the new casino and entertainment area in Park City. They will be hiring hundreds of individuals. They don't open to the public until December, but they have to start onboarding people in the month of October so that they can obtain the credentials and training necessary through the Gaming Commission. But again, this is a large entertainment district, restaurants, pickleball, mechanical bull riding, if that interests you. And so you can see there's a number of positions that are available, and it'll be a 2-day event at the Wichita Workforce Center, September 12th and 13th. So we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. There's a lot going on right now, and we appreciate the leadership that you guys provide. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Howell.
Well, Chairman, thank you so much. I just want to say thank you for coming today. These new programs are a little bit complex for me to explain, but you guys did a great job. I just want the community to know about the opportunities, to think about hiring, basically training 90 people on the EPA skill set. And I think about potential businesses opening up, service providers, can meet the needs. And you think about the 29th and Grove contamination site is a great example of remediation that might happen around that site. So there are great opportunities, and I know people just want to know, what do I do for a career? What can I do? These are stepping stones to a career. Yes. And then of course the focus on veterans. I don't know. It didn't mention how many veterans would be focused on, and we don't. Is there a target?
We hope to serve 130 a year.
130. Awesome. So these are things that in a community that again, opportunities and needs for attention. So I just want to say thanks for bringing that to us. If anybody has questions about everything you just mentioned, how do they get more information? Is there a website or phone number they can call?
You can visit our website, workforce-ks.com. Our phone number 316-771-6600, or walk in person to the Wichita Workforce Center at 2021 North Amidon.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for sharing that with us today.
Thank you, sir.
Again, thank you very much. Appreciate all the work you guys are doing for us.
Thank you for your service. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, join us on Saturday, September 20th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Sedgwick County Park and Lake Afton for National Cleanup Day. We're asking for volunteers to pitch in for the parks by doing some debris pickup and light maintenance. With your help, we can make sure our Sedgwick County parks remain a beautiful place to get some fresh air. To sign up, visit sedgwickcounty.org/parks/cleanup. And then for today's County Good News, I'd like to introduce Mai Nguyen, who is the Preventative Health Director for the Health Department. She was recently honored as a hometown hero for her work overseeing operations to ensure the community has access to essential care. I'm going to show a quick video produced by Cake News, and then we'll have her come down so that you guys can chat with her.
We don't go into this work to be recognized, but knowing the community see and value what we do mean a lot to us.
Mai Nguyen is the Director of Preventative Health at the Sedgwick County Health Department. Her main role is overseeing operations of different programs and services.
Helping people build strong communities.
Things like cancer screenings, immunizations, STD tests. But Mai got her start in this role back in 2019. Just a few months later, the world shut down.
That was a crazy time.
Mai's team told us that she was a driving force behind a lot of steps put in place, like, for example, drive-through outdoor testing. But how did she end up in Cakeland in the first place?
I was one of the last people fled the communist regime Vietnam in the late 80s, early 90s.
Mai and her mom fled Vietnam, not knowing where they were going, but just knew they couldn't be in the country anymore. And after being in Singapore and the Philippines for a while, they made their way to Kansas eventually, and she's been here ever since. She worked at a local hospital after high school, and that's where she learned all about healthcare.
That experience confirmed my passion for caring for people.
A hometown hero. My welcome. We're glad you're here today.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to give a big shout out to the health department team and the West Central Clinic staff for their dedication and support. Their hard work has been the key to everything I have achieved. And big thanks to Sedgwick County organization for their continued support of our program. Together, we are keeping our community healthy and strong. Thank you.
A couple questions real quick from the commission. Can you tell us a little bit about what your program does? I want our community to understand exactly what it is you do at the health department and all that your program entails.
Yes, we have variety of services. My area, we focus on clinical service. We have immunizations. We provide immunization to all age. We have our immunization supervisor, program supervisor, and program manager here with me. We also have family planning service that provide, contraceptive and well woman exam to women of, reproductive age. We try to keep them healthy so that when they become pregnant, they can have a healthy, delivery and outcome so that we can reduce the low weight birth weight and premature birth as well.
Yes. Okay.
And we also have our breast and cervical cancer screening program called Early Detection Works. We also have STD or STI, sexual transmitted clinic, where we screen and treat clients so that they don't spread it to other in the community. So that's keep our community safe and healthy.
Incredible. A lot of work you're doing over there. A couple questions. Commissioner Blueball.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much for sharing your story, and thank you for using your talents and skills and serving this community. I really appreciate you serving Sedgwick County and what you're doing, so thank you very much.
Yeah, your testimony is powerful of what your family has done and to come here and then to give back the way you are. It really is an inspiration. You are a hometown hero. I'm very grateful for Cake News and the Wind Surge and how they partner with Sedgwick County to do these hometown heroes and to elevate the stories of people that are doing incredible work in this community. We're so proud of you and we're so grateful for the work that you do. So congratulations, you're a hometown hero.
Thank you.
And that is all I have for today. I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, Nicole, any questions or comments for Nicole? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much. What we're going to do before we get into the next part of our agenda, which is public agenda, public comment, we're going to pause for a second, go out. We want to take some they got to get back to work. As we hear, they're very busy with what they're doing over there. So we want to pause for about 5 minutes. We'll run around, take some pictures with our hometown hero. We'll let them get on their way and get back to work, and then we'll come back and we'll resume the agenda. So give us 5 minutes, please. Okay, thanks for giving us that grace. We want to go celebrate Maya and all the work that she's doing over there. She's a hometown hero, so that's a great program. It's always fun to bring these people in and celebrate them and to elevate the work that they're doing in our community. So let's continue on. Madam Clerk, next item.
Public agenda.
Okay, we had one individual sign up for public agenda. What will happen here is we'll invite you down to the podium. County Clerk will give you 5 minutes. She'll give you a sign when you have about 30 seconds to go, and then let you know when your time's up. If you can give your name and address for the record, we would appreciate it. And the individual who signed up is Miss Andrea Cisco. Good morning, Ms. Cisco. Welcome.
Good morning. Hello, my name is Andre Cisco. I live at 5015 Jade in Wichita, Kansas. And I'd like the county commissioners to know that I spent my weekend watching the budget hearing from the 20th. And I would like to tell you all that I thank my county commissioners for their continued support for senior centers in Sedgwick County, with the increased funding to Bentley, Cheney, Mount Hope, Orchard Park, and Goddard. The increase will help each of these senior centers continue to provide great service to seniors within Sedgwick County. Thank you.
Very kind, Andre. Appreciate it. And I'm sure that was a good weekend spent watching the budget hearing. So, yeah. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Okay, thank you for that, Andre. Appreciate it. I'll make a motion to receive and file public comment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bluebow.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Meitzner. Chairman Beatty.
Aye. Okay, next item, please.
Consideration of minutes, item A, regular meeting minutes of August 13th, 2025.
Okay, Commissioners, everyone was present for this meeting. Do we have any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of August 13th, 2025.
Second.
We have seconds, plural. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bluebow.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Meitzner. Chairman Beatty.
Aye. Next item, please.
Appointments.
Justin Wagner, there you are.
Thank you, Chairman Justin Wagner, County Councilor. Item B is a resolution appointing MARSHA Wells to the Sedgwick County Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board as recommended for appointment by Chairman Beatty. The recommended action is to adopt the resolution.
Okay. MARSHA is here today, and so is our County Clerk, Kelly Arnold. He'll come down and swear you in, and then we'd love to hear if you have anything you'd like to share.
Okay.
And then I'll celebrate you a little bit more. Kelly, go ahead.
Okay. Do you guys vote? Sorry.
We have not yet. I'll do that now. I'll make a motion to appoint MARSHA Wells to the Sedgwick County Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bluebow.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Meitzner. Chairman Beatty.
Aye. Now we can do that. We're used to doing multiple at one time, so go ahead, Kelly.
I don't want to tell you how to do your job.
Appreciate it.
Good morning, Commissioner Kelly Arnold, County Clerk. All right, please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Sedgwick County Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board, so help me God.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep. Like the state.
MARSHA,
I appreciate the opportunity to give back to the county and help support a very vulnerable community, which is near and dear to me. So thank you.
MARSHA, thank you so much for your willingness to serve here. I had one opening on this board, and you had reached out. We had a great conversation. You and I share a heart for foster care, and you shared a lot about what you're doing and what you have done in foster care, particularly those children that have an intellectual or developmental disability. And you see the gaps. And what we want for people that are serving these boards is to understand how these services are being implemented in the community, where the gaps are, and to advocate. And I am so thrilled that you're willing to serve in this capacity, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Moving on, we are. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
New business, item C, ZON 2025-00017, zone change request in the county from IPA Industrial Park Airport to GC General Commercial within protective overlay number 454, generally located on the west side of South Rock Road and within 1/2 mile north of East 47th Street South.
Okay, very good. Scott, welcome.
Good morning. Scott Wadle from the Planning Department. This is an item that's returning back to you, and as you heard, the applicant is requesting to rezone the subject site from IPA, which is Industrial Park Airport, to GC General Commercial with a custom protective overlay. And just so everyone knows, a protective overlay is something that can limit the number of uses. It can't allow more than the base zoning. It can just restrict more intensely. So in terms of resources, I just want to note that, again, we've got another table that we've distributed. They're also available as a handout up at the front. And those show land uses that are allowed by the current zoning, requested by the applicant, also a revised request by the applicant in consultation with McConnell staff and prior to the most recent MAPC meeting, and also the recommendation from the MAPC meeting. So it's just a tool for reference. In terms of the request itself, the applicant has indicated they are requesting the zoning change in order to allow for additional uses at the site. The distributed table helps illustrate what those additional uses would be. In terms of the property itself, here's the aerial image on the screen. The site is generally located to the north and west of the intersection of 47th and Rock Road. It is just under 40 acres in size, again, zoned Industrial Park Airport. It's currently undeveloped. It is platted and is currently in the process of being replatted by the applicant. The next step in that process is consideration of dedications by the Board of County Commissioners, and that is on today's agenda as a consent item. In terms of context, properties to the north are zoned IPA in Air Force Base District and are developed with McConnell Air Force Base in use as agricultural land and a single-family dwelling. Property to the south is zoned IPA and is in use as agricultural land. Properties to the east across South Rock Road are zoned rural residential and developed with single-family dwellings. We can flip to kind of the zoning map here. And then property to the west is zoned Air Force Base, and obviously part of the Air Force Base. And then all properties, with the exception of the Air Force Base, are located within the Air Force Base overlay, which is a protective overlay which limits new structure heights to a maximum of 25 feet in the area. In terms of the staff report provides information about development standards and review of proposed rezoning and recommendations from community plans. Just a note that one of the community plans is the joint land use study, which was completed in 2005 and was jointly undertaken by Sedgwick County, Derby, Wichita, and McConnell to help solve issues and prevent future ones. In 2007, Sedgwick County and the City of Wichita amended the Unified Zoning Code in order to help implement that plan and that study, and they created the Industrial Park Airport zoning district. The intent of that district, and ultimately a rezoning which took place, was to encourage future land uses that are more consistent with federal land use compatibility guidelines. The land use compatibility guidelines determine that residential uses are not compatible with the base generally, but industrial uses such as those permitted by IPA zoning district are the most compatible. The rezoning action that took place specifically rezoned property on the west side of South Rock Road to the IPA district in order to help ensure compatibility among uses and help avoid conflicts between lower intensity uses and the effects of noise and lights from the Air Force Base. So in those properties, you can see them, some of them shown in this purple color on the screen here. In terms of review, on May 22nd, the Planning Commission, the MAPC, considered this application and recommended approval of the rezoning. That vote was 6-5, and that included some modified text for the protective overlay. No members of the public spoke on the item at that public hearing. The Citizens Advisory Board for CAP 5 did not hear the zoning case. On July 9th, the Board of County Commissioners heard this application, and the action was to send it back to the MAPC for additional consideration, especially related to compatibility and protection of McConnell Air Force Base operations. A staff member from McConnell spoke on the item at that meeting. On July 24th, the MAPC heard the item again and considered it with an updated application and protective overlay submitted by the applicant and in consultation with McConnell Air Force Base. In addition, McConnell Air Force Base staff at that meeting requested 25-foot setbacks where the subject site abuts the Air Force Base. Ultimately, the action of the MAPC was to recommend approval of the request by an 11-3 vote. subject to a modified protective overlay, which was the language that the applicant had submitted. But it also included the 25-foot setbacks where the property adjoins the Air Force Base, and to which the applicant indicated they were in agreement with at the MAPC meeting. And so that is the recommendation that is coming before you. A staff member from McConnell Air Force Base was at that meeting and did speak on the item. Ultimately, no protests were received against this application. Therefore, the zone change request can be approved as recommended by the MAPC with a simple majority vote. In terms of recommendation, it's recommended that the Commission adopt the findings of the MAPC, approve the zone change request, authorize the chairman to sign the resolution, and authorize the resolution to be published. Alternatives include the following. You can override the MAPC recommendation, adopt alternative findings, and deny the application. That would require 4 out of 5 votes. Quick note on attendance. The agent for the applicant is in attendance today. In addition, I do want to let you know that we called the staff from McConnell Air Force Base. They indicated that they had some conflicts this morning and that their feedback remains the same as that expressed during the MAPC meeting. So with that, I'll take you through some of the graphics. So here's the aerial image, again, showing the property outlined in that aqua color. Here is the zoning map, again, that was described a little bit earlier. Here's the map from the comprehensive plan, showing that it's recommended for agricultural or vacant. Here's the map from the comprehensive plan showing the urban growth areas. It's in Wichita's urban growth area. Here's the notification and the protest map. Again, no protests were received against the application. And then here's some examples of the tables. I'll go ahead and skip past those. Here are photos from the site and the surrounding area. Looking along Rock Road, looking at the site. Now, there was another site just to the south that came up at the last BOCC meeting. This is one where there's currently some development and construction taking place. That's the site of storage units that are being constructed at this time. And so with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, Scott, thank you so much for all the work. And to be clear, this came to us 3 weeks, a little over a month ago, and we sent it back for further discussion. I think you mentioned that in your analysis. I wanted to make sure the public understood that we have already heard this case and we were working out some final details and wanted some more feedback. Before we ask questions to you, I want to give the Commission an opportunity to convey any ex parte communication that they might have had. So, Commissioner Blueball?
I have not, sir.
Okay. Myself, I have had no ex parte communication outside of the original hearing that we had.
I have not had any ex parte communication.
I've had none since our last meeting.
Okay. Any questions, Commissioners, for Scott or staff? Commissioner Howe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question. I'll see on the staff notes here that the recommendation from staff on the 7/24/25 meeting was to deny.
Yes, sir.
It did not change. Why is that? Is reasons are the same, or I guess I'm not quite sure why to deny.
Reasons are still the same. In this case, it's simply a matter of that the community put in place a special zoning district intended to protect the operations of the base. And so the thinking is to recommend denial, let the applicant make their case about whether or not it should be rezoned. But in this case, we continued with the recommendation of denial.
I guess from my perspective, McConnell's been part of the conversation, and they've given us, if you will, this overlay. So we have an agreement now on what's allowed and what's not allowed on that property, and they're essentially blessing that. So I guess I'm just. Am I misunderstanding something?
No, sir, you're not. Yes, McConnell staff have indicated that they're in agreement with this. I think one of the questions that comes up, though, will be what happens if another property requests a similar rezoning and they choose to go with another customized zoning district, then what precedent or what are the implications on that?
Okay. I'm going to be supportive of the zone change today, and I would have been in favor of doing this. It's been nearly 2 months, actually, since this came up last time, but I would have been in favor of this last time. But we wanted to send this back and have them essentially, come up with a more comprehensive review of the overlay information. So that's what they have done. I'm not sure I agree with some of the changes that they made, but I'm willing to concede my concerns and move this forward. So, Chairman, I'll support this at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions for Scott or staff? Scott, was there any, the reason why we kind of pumped the brakes is obviously there was a zoning district, there was a joint land use study that was put in place. This is amending some of those things, and this is a Air Force base that is $1 billion of economic output to this community. So pumping the brakes was making sure that we understood. And I read the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting, and there were some significant concerns with what happens if the BRICS conversation comes up again and they're talking about closures of military bases. Was that part of the discussion? Is the what if in the future? Was it staff's opinion or that this might put us into a position of vulnerability in the future with this Air Force base? Did that conversation come up?
Yes, those types of conversations have come up, and I think that's part of the deliberations that, again, you see at the MAPC level. The challenge with a operation like this from the JLUS plan and from the deliberations is obviously you've got base operations which include explosions and a gun range, which is actually fairly adjacent to this property just to the west. You've got ordinances that are being detonated, not just shooting ranges, but you have explosives that are being exploded there. And so part of the challenge that happens with bases are the types of uses that are taking place there. Sound travels across the property lines, and then you end up with other property owners who start to complain about it. And the more that you see encroachment of uses that are susceptible to these kinds of disturbances, the more complaints you see, the more challenging I think it can be to operate the base into the future. So I think that's the dynamic that the community wrestles with, is you have property owners who want to be able to use the property as they see fit and use it to the highest and best use. You have this complicating factor of you have a large organization that has uses on it that cross property boundaries and can be challenging for other uses. So how do you reconcile those?
Two more questions. One was any of our federal delegation, do we seek their opinion? Senator Moran's office in particular, Congressman Estes's office. Did we get any insight from any of those individuals?
We have not reached out to them. That is not part of our typical process, nor have
this is not a typical zoning case.
Yes, sir. Nor have we heard from them. But the additional outreach that we did was to engage with McConnell staff and to learn what their thoughts were on it.
Can I ask just a general question? Individuals that own land in these areas that would require, that were in the special zoning district, what would be the assumption they could do with that land if there was never a development opportunity? I guess I'm not asking that question very well, but people that own land, or individuals or companies that own land that was adjacent to the base that was in this district, what was the assumption at any given point in time of what they could do with that land?
Well, and I think that's where the zoning is at the crux of this conversation, because zoning allows certain uses and does not allow other uses. And so given the current zoning, which is IPA, you can see on the table, or folks can see in the staff report, that the land uses that can be done there are typically more industrial in nature. They also are uses where you're avoiding large gatherings of people. So those are the two distinguishing characteristics.
So it was always assumed at some point in time that there would be a development of adjacent to the base. It was just going to be under some very strict guidelines. And
yes, because otherwise, and I'll turn to legal if they want to add any other color to this, but if you deprive a property owner of all use of a land, essentially that is a taking, and you need to compensate them for that.
Okay, very good. A few more questions. Commissioner Meinstern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Hey, Scott, thanks, and I apologize, everybody, for the interrupting services that I have. But Scott, earlier in your presentation, did you mention that you had another brief discussion or contact with McConnell this morning?
Yes, sir. Just this morning. Yes, sir.
And what was that? What did that add to this presentation?
It was simply to check and see if they were going to be able to be in attendance today. They indicated that they had conflicts, but that their recommendation is still the same as what was presented at the MAPC meeting, which is also what the applicant has submitted. And that was arrived at after discussions between the applicant and McConnell staff about what land uses would be acceptable or even recommended at this site.
Okay, thank you. And also, just for the record, I've had no contact or ex parte communications on this case.
Very good.
Thank you for letting me do this question.
Okay, other questions for Scott? Okay, we will open up a public hearing shortly, but we want to give an opportunity for the applicant's agent to come down, and if the applicant agent would like to come. Might have some questions. Good morning.
Good morning. Kirk Miller, K.E. Miller Engineering. I'm the agent. Be glad to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant agent? That was easy.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. We'll officially open up a public hearing. If anybody from the public would like to share or provide comment, we would absolutely entertain it. You're welcome to come down here to the podium. Yeah. Just come on down here to the podium. Our county clerk will give you 5 minutes. If you can just provide your name and address for the record. Oh, second, the next, yeah. Not a problem, not a problem. That's for the next zoning hearing. Okay. We're looking at item C, zoning case. Would anybody like to come and share? Okay, seeing none, we'll officially close public comment, bring discussion back to the bench. Commissioners, any questions or comments or further discussion? Okay, seeing none, Commissioner Howard, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we adopt the findings of MAPC and approve the zone change request, sign the resolution, and authorize it to be published.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blubaugh?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Aye.
Chairman Beatty?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. We'll move on. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item D, ZON 2025-00031, zone change request in the county from RR Rural Residential District and SF20 Single Family Residential District to LI Limited Industrial District, generally located on the west side of North Greenwich Road and within 1/2 mile south of East 37th Street North.
Welcome back, Scott.
All right, thank you. So Scott Wadle from Planning, just for the record. So in this case, the applicant is requesting rezone the subject site from rural residential and SF20 to single family residential to LI limited industrial. And here is a look at the zoning map. You can see the different zoning districts on this property. In terms of the request, the applicant has indicated they're requesting the zoning change in order to allow for additional uses at the site and to prepare for future development. The applicant has not indicated any specific development plans at this time. In terms of the property, the site is generally located on the east side of Jabbar Airport and on the west side of Greenwich Road between 37th and 29th Street. The subject site is made up of 3 ownership parcels. I know it only shows 2, and I'll explain that in a moment. It is just under 160 acres in size. It is zoned rural residential and SF20. It's currently undeveloped, and it is not platted. So a note about this is that during the rezoning process, the Wichita Airport Authority did acquire approximately 22 acres of the subject site that's located in the northwest corner of this site. The authority has indicated it's their desire to proceed with this rezoning, and so we have proceeded with it according to that. In terms of context, property to the north is zoned SF20 and rural residential and is developed with agricultural uses. A zone change to LI, limited industrial, is currently being considered for that site. And I believe that is also on the agenda for today as a consent item. Property to the west is zoned LI within the city of Wichita and developed with Jabara Airport. So here's what that looks like. Property to the northeast is zoned rural residential and developed with a single-family dwelling. And so that is the one in the corner up here. And properties to the south are within the city of Wichita and are currently zoned SF5, single-family, and PUD, which is a custom zoning. The SF5 property is developed as part of the Northeast Sports Complex. The property zone PUD is undeveloped but is platted for commercial uses. Properties to the east across North Greenwich Road are zoned MF18 multifamily residential, LC limited commercial, and SF5 and are in the city of Wichita. The property zoned MF18 and LC is developed with an elementary school. The property zoned SF5 are undeveloped lots that are platted for single-family dwellings. So in terms of the staff report, it includes information about development standards, screening, structure heights, parking, signage, and landscaping. In terms of review, on July 24th, the MAPC considered this application and recommended approval of the request, and that vote was 12-2. Two neighbors, both residing at the same property, spoke against the request with concerns about additional traffic, noise, and safety near their property. On July 21st, the District 1 Citizens Advisory Board considered the application. The CAB recommended approval of the request by a 7-0 vote. No members of the public spoke on this item at that meeting. One protest was received against the application. That protest constituted 5% of the protest area and did not exceed the state threshold for 20%. Therefore, the BOCC may approve the zone change request with a simple majority of 3 of 5 votes. In terms of recommendation, the recommendation coming to you from the MAPC is to adopt their findings, approve the zone change request, authorize the chairman to sign the resolution, and authorize the resolution to be published. Alternatives include the following. You can override the MAPC, adopt alternative findings, and deny the application. That would require 4 out of 5 votes. Or, as always, you can return the case to the MAPC for additional consideration with a statement specifying the basis for the failure to approve or deny. Again, requires just a simple majority. In terms of attendance, the agent for the applicant is here today, as well are neighboring property owners who spoke on this item at the MAPC meeting. They are also in attendance. With that, I'll take you through some of the images and graphics. So here's the outline of the subject site. Here's the zoning map that was described earlier. Here's the map from the comprehensive plan for future land use. It recommends a mix of residential and employment and also agricultural in the area. Here's the comp plan map showing it's in the city of Wichita urban growth area. Here's the map from the zoning area of influence map showing that it's not in an area of influence because, again, it's in Wichita's urban growth area. Here's the protest and notification map showing that one property did protest, again, amounted to 5% of the protest area. Here are photos of the site and the surrounding area. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, Scott, thank you, and thanks staff for all the work on this. Before we get into questions, comments in the public hearing, I want to give commissioners an opportunity to convey any ex parte communication they might have had on this case. Commissioner Blueball?
I've not had any ex parte communication.
Likewise, I've had 0 ex parte communication. I remain open-minded on the facts of this case.
I have not had any ex parte communication.
I've had none.
Commissioner Meitzer?
I had a brief conversation with an acquaintance of one of the property owners, but not any direct conversation with anybody directly involved with this. So remain open to going forward.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, any questions for Scott or staff? Okay, seeing none. Is the applicant agent you said is here?
Yes, sir. I
If
believe
the
our
applicant agent would
is
like to come back and come down and share, just give us your name and who you're with. And good morning.
Good morning. Phil Meyer with Boffman Company, agent for the applicant. We do believe this is the appropriate zoning at this location adjacent to Jabara Airport, and that the present zoning district of single family is inappropriate by the airport. With that, I'm going to be brief and just stop and answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, very good. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant agent? Okay, seeing none, Phil, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll open up for public hearing. We'd love to hear from the public on this specific zoning item. We're on agenda item D, zone change request. So the public hearing is now officially open. If you'd like to come down here, we'd love to hear your feedback and your comment. If you can provide just your name and your address for the record, our county clerk will give you 5 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Corelia Johnson and my husband, Gary Johnson, and we have lived at this 3605 North Greenwich Road. We have lived there for almost 40 years, and one thing that I would like to mention is that I don't believe that this is good for us because, number one, the lane on this highway is 2 lane, and my mailbox is across the street, and I have to. There's cars, and ever since when we first moved out there, there was hardly any traffic. Now the traffic is so bad that even the people that were doing the zoning, the planners, they even said that it was dangerous to even cross the street because there are so many semis, cars that are constantly not observing the traffic laws. They pass, they race, they do everything out there. There's also a school not too far from us, and that school zone, when it's time to pick up the kids or drop off the children, there's a line almost a half a mile long, and there's no place on the highway. The people have to come on the highway to pick up their children. And there's been accidents out there, and I have watched the news, and sometimes it's covered and sometimes it hasn't been covered. But I have seen where that there has been a horse that has gotten loose, and the horse has hit the car and killed the whole family, and it was not on the news. But there have been accidents out there, and it's dangerous out there, and especially to have semis constantly going up and down that highway. They do not respect the no passing zones. I have to stand out there, and they have no regard for anybody. And also the animals out there, they have no place to go. I mean, there's nowhere to go except on our property because they're constantly building. And also I'd like to say that if they're going to make it a light zone, like commercial zone, then they need to make it a 4-lane highway instead of a 2-lane. They need to make provisions for these this development that they want. I mean, because right now there's no development. It's still considered a single family, and we don't. I'm not against progress, but I'm saying to you, please, before there's any deaths or children or anything else out there, please consider either improving the highways so that there's, for the amount of semis and trucks that are coming and going. And also that, what else do I have? I just think that there needs to be more studies done, and I will get more involved, but I didn't know the procedures of all this.
You're fine.
I just didn't know. I mean, I considered that my ignorance, but I will get more involved, and I will know who to contact because I didn't. When you live out there and you live in the country, you think that it's made up, it's safe for anybody, but it's not safe out there. I don't care who you talk to. You can talk to parents, or you can talk to the planning people that are rezoning it. They even told me that it wasn't safe, that they were wondering if they were going to get hit while they were surveying the land and the area. So that's my concern.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and do not feel bad about not understanding the full process. There's a lot of moving parts and things like this, so we just appreciate that you've engaged and you're here today to share your feedback, and we really, really appreciate it.
And I know that we're a small pebble in the process, but you know, I am very concerned, and I lived out there, and we had a fire out there in October, and I mean, it started on a soccer field, and the firemen, we had 20 fire trucks out there. We had 60 firemen out there. And the only way that our home was safe was because they put airplanes in the sky and dropped the water on our residents. It was on the news. And a lot of the firemen didn't even know we lived there. And, you know, they came and gave us 5 minutes to get whatever we could to get out. And, I mean, I'm saying that if you're going to develop the property, then develop it so that it's safe for everybody, not just for the big business.
Understood. We remember that fire well, and it was a scary moment, so I'm certain it was scary for you guys. Commissioner Meitzner, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Johnson and Mr. Johnson, thank you for your comments. Unfortunately, Greenwich or Greenwich Road, it's not a highway, but it is officially called a main arterial road. And with all the development that's just to the south, meaning Stryker and all that development, eventually there will be, I'm sure it's on the radar for planning with our roads department, along with the city of Wichita and the state, to I'm sure that the widening of Greenwich Road or Greenwich will be in the future based on increased traffic, and as you pointed out, some of the accident data. I don't know the rules of post office world, but it does sound to me a little bit weird that your mailbox is across the street. I will take that to see if there's anything that we or I can do to maybe get at least your mail box on the right side of your property. But I apologize for some of the inconveniences that you're going through today, and I don't think the developers or the owners of the property have any immediate plans for anything in the next 5 to 10 years. But all that said, I appreciate what you've said, and you are in an area, unfortunately, that has extreme growth, both retail and housing, and the school, and that arterial road, which is now 2-lane, I'm sure it'll be in the plans for the future to be widened and made safer. So, but thank you for your comments. And if you've got your name and address and phone number, maybe I can follow up on the mailbox issue.
Thank you. And also, I would like to say that I understand what you're saying, sir. I would like for the committee to consider, before that they rezone it, to try to get some of these concerns addressed, like make sure that maybe it's a 4-lane highway before you start doing everything, to make it safer. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We're still in public hearing. Anybody else would like to come and provide comment to the commission? Again, we're on item D. Okay, seeing none, I'll officially close public comment, bring discussion back to the bench. Lynn, I do have a couple questions. This is Lynn Packer, our county engineer. Two questions.
Yes, sir.
Mailboxes. Talked a lot about mailboxes. Do you have any indication it's across the street? What does that look like? I know Commissioner Meinzer is going to follow up, but I think it might be helpful if you have some knowledge or insight that you might be able to convey.
Absolutely. Yes. First and foremost, it's not uncommon in the more rural areas to have the mailboxes on the opposite side of residences, just because usually the mail trucks and the rural deliveries want to travel down that road once, not go up and down it twice. As urban development sprawls, some of those do move across the street. In some cases, people leave it that way. In this particular case, I will note for the Johnsons that they have the option of moving that back to their side of the street, so they don't have to. That's something they need to do. It is their property to bring over, and we're happy to provide them with the details of what that needs to be and where they can put it. And they can also talk to their letter carrier about that as well, to confirm that it's okay to put on their side of the driveway.
Lynn, would you be able to, Commissioner Meinzer's on Zoom, and Commissioner, jump in any time, but would you be able to get that information over to Commissioner Meinzer so he can get that over to the Johnsons?
Absolutely,
I think that'd be helpful. The second, one of the big concerns was the traffic. Obviously, there's a lot of development. I'm looking at the map, looking at the division across the street. Is this a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit zone, or what are we looking at here?
Once you get a little bit further north of the city limits, yes.
Okay. So does this happen? Do you know, does this happen so in front of this residence here, is it still 55 miles per hour?
If it's not, it's really close to it.
Okay. Do you know what's the conversation as more development begins to happen about the changes in that speed limit? What does that look like from the county engineer's standpoint?
We usually talk to the cities once platting begins. The zoning is occurring first, and then platting. So we don't know, as Commissioner Meinzer noted, we don't know what the end of plans are for we have not seen what the development looks like, whether it's going to have any type of trucking facility or what type of traffic it will attract. That's a discussion. We usually talk about the roads at that time. However, knowing the zoning cases coming up, we have already had preliminary discussions with the city of Wichita. We have a short section of Greenwich Road from the north city limits to the south Bel Air city limits, and we've actually talked to them about annexation of this road. Once this plat does occur, they would actually legally be able to annex that entire section that's currently ours.
So those conversations are happening. The annexation would come into the city of Wichita, the road, which would adjust the speed limit.
Now, that would not take place until after platting, once that is approved and everything is down the road.
But that would adjust the speed limit down to 40 miles per hour? Or
most likely, yes. Okay. And I will say, Commissioner Meinzer has alluded to it, without a doubt, in the foreseeable future, right now, a two-lane highway is sufficient for the traffic that's out there. A two-way lane road can handle about up to 10,000 vehicles a day. I think we're about half that right now. However, I do see auxiliary lanes at the minimum, if not a three-lane section in the future. But that would occur after annexation and after, development occurs more.
Okay. There's a process. We're moving through this process. So I appreciate you thinking ahead. And obviously, you've heard the concerns of Commissioner Meinzer's constituents, and they're valid concerns. So I appreciate you thinking ahead. Commissioner Meinzer, any follow-up comment or questions?
No. Thank you, Lynn, for that explanation. You're a little ahead of me on that knowledge, and I appreciate it very much. And we'll circle and get with the Johnson family, at least regarding the mailbox. And thanks for the update on the roads currently and future on that arterial street. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Lynn. Okay, any other questions or comments from the bench? Okay, seeing none. Commissioner Meinzer, I'd happy to make a motion, or you can make the motion, whatever.
Be glad to. I'd like to make the motion to adopt the findings of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and approve the zone change, sign the resolution by the chairman, and authorize it to be published.
Okay, that's a motion. I have a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Buba?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise? Aye. Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Aye.
Chairman Beatty.
Aye. Okay, thank you, staff. Thank you, all the working committee, and thank you for public comment today. We appreciate that. Okay, Madam Clerk, we're going to keep moving. Next item, please.
Item E, resolutions determining the advisability of and authorizing the creation of benefit districts in Sedgwick County, Kansas, making certain findings relating thereto, and authorizing and providing for the making of certain road improvements therein for Meadow Lake Beach, Second Edition, paving improvements phases 1 and 2, and entrance.
Okay, Lynn, long time no see.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Lynn Packer, your Director of Public Works and County Engineer. I am here today with Garth Herman. He is our bond counsel from Gilmore and Bell. And before you is a request to approve the creation of 3 separate benefit districts for road improvements and related drainage improvements within phases 1, 2, and the entrance phase to Meadow Lake Beach, Second Edition. We have, again, these are going to be 3 different benefit districts with 3 different costs associated with those improvements. The first improvement is phase 1. This development is located on the west side of Clifton. It is 1/4 mile north of 55th Street South. The first phase of Meadow Lake is just to the south, and it will adjoin the Second Edition here on the west side of Clifton. The first phase includes 35 lots that are highlighted, I believe, in green on the screen in front of you. And it is, like I said, 35 lots. That is an overall estimated cost of about $902,000. So it's for the petition. The second improvement is for 30 additional lots for a second phase, estimated petition cost of $722,000. And then the entrance improvements will be assessed over the entire subdivision, all 65 lots, at a petition cost of $347,000. This is a petition that was signed by the developer who currently owns all 100% of the lots. None of the lots have been sold, so this is a 100% petition. I believe, like I said, Garth is here to answer any of the financial questions and any questions you have regarding the creation of the benefit district moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Garth, welcome. Glad you're here today talking about 3 special assessment projects. Commissioners, any questions? Okay, seeing none. Commissioner Howell, this is in District 5. Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, very simply, just make a motion to adopt the resolutions. Thank you.
Simple motion, simple second for me. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blubaugh?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Aye.
Chairman Beatty.
Aye. Okay, motion carries for these. Garth, easy work today, bud. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Garth. Okay, Madam Clerk, next item.
Item F, amendments to the Sedgwick County Stormwater Management Code.
Hey, Lynn.
Good morning once again. For the record, Lynn Packer, your Director of Public Works and County Engineer. I figured if Scott gets to come up here twice, I wanted to come up twice as well. So item F is an item that was deferred from 3 weeks ago. It is amendments to the Stormwater Management Code. Basically, we're requesting the update that will make 2 changes to the code. The first is a minor item that basically moves the code from under the direction of the Environmental Resources Director to the Director of Division of Public Works, myself. Environmental Resources, when this was first adopted, was an independent department and is now under the purview of the Public Works Department, our division. The second change request is to extend the code to include all unincorporated areas of the county instead of just within the urban areas as defined by the Census Bureau. And what we're looking at specifically is extending the water quality improvements so it is a county-wide through the unincorporated areas instead of just that urban area as defined by the Census Bureau. Stormwater quality has become more of an issue with property owners, especially especially with subdivisions that are popping up outside of areas that have access to city or rural water connections. Public Works is also very interested in having stormwater code adopted by all cities in the county, and this would be an appropriate first step before talking with our partner cities in earnest about that. I am here today with Susan Erlerwine, our Director of Environmental Resources, as well as Scott Lindeback, who heads our Stormwater Department, to answer any questions or concerns you might have today.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you being here as well. This has been quite a discussion that we've had here on the commission level, and I appreciate that you said this might be the first step in a longer conversation of how we get more collaboration with our partner cities.
Definitely.
A few questions, and then we'll open it up to the bench. Lynn, why is this needed? Can you help clarify to the public why this is needed, particularly for Sedgwick County?
So currently, we have stormwater quality regulations within the city of Wichita, as well as a sliver of a band around the city of Wichita, and some phase 2 communities and the bedroom communities of Wichita. And what this would, so right now we have stormwater quality measurements there, and in general, water in Sedgwick County drains from the northwest up to down to the southeast towards the Ark River. And what we have is we have some protections that are occurring to clean up that water before it hits the Ark River and heads down south and southeast eventually. What we want to do is extend that so it's countywide. Even if some additional cities adopt these codes, or our stormwater management code, we would end up with a hit and miss type of application where you would have some water cleaned up and then you would go into the unincorporated area where it's not, and then maybe it hits another city and gets cleaned up a little bit, and then it's not, it's out in the unincorporated portions of the county. We want to make this more of a regional attack, make it all for the entire county. I will note the city of Wichita years ago worked with Reno and Harvey counties to help with water protections that were leading into the Cheney Reservoir. So we've already made, the city of Wichita has already made those connections, and also to making sure that our water that's going in the Cheney water is already cleaned up. Right now, that water is discharging, and thankfully, it's actually discharging these days. Yeah. So it's coming out, and it's going into areas that don't have protections out there, and that does eventually lead into, especially in District 3, to areas, like I said, that aren't served by a rural water district. They're not served by a city water system, and therefore rely on well water. So we end up with pollutants that get into the water and into the groundwater from the surface, and that would help also with this. And by taking more of a regional attack on this, we have a greater chance of having an impact on cleaning up the water than if it's just a hit and miss out there.
I think that's where, if I can go just a step deeper, because usually this isn't a commission historically that has an appetite for more regulation. I'm trying to really define for the public and for my own understanding that if we don't make a change here, like what is the impact to our water quality and quantity if we're not reactive here and strengthening regulation and some of these things? I'm trying to really understand what is the impact to the people and what's the impact to our developers and our home builders.
Well, actually, I'll probably skip ahead a little bit, and I'm going to walk on Susan a little bit. But here's part of our issue. We're now under a blue-green algae warning with Cheney Lake, or excuse me, Lake Afton. That's partially due to the untreated and no water quality measurements that are in place for that water that's going into Lake Afton. We've had a blue-green algae closure in the last 5 years. Since 26, we had 2016, 2018, 2019, and then again 23, 24, and 25. Each of those years now, we have had a blue-green algae closure. There's no reason to expect that it'll change anytime for next year. As pollutants, as developments continue to grow and expand and not have any water quality restrictions in place, we're going to continue to have issues like this. This is a direct issue not only on on those who want to enjoy Lake Afton, but it also has a financial impact to the county because people are not going out there to enjoy Lake Afton when it's under that kind of restrictions. So that right there is one a big issue. The other issue we have, obviously, is subdivisions that have come down. We've had a couple come in this year that the citizens that are living around those areas have strong concerns about what that means, not only for the quantity of water they have available for their wells, but also the quality of the water they have in their wells, and because they have seen a degradation over the years. So our hope is to help, potentially, yes, we have a sand and rock that helps as a natural agent to clean water, but this would actually go and have cleaner water that's already percolating into the ground. And I would say, this is not something that's going to happen. We put these restrictions in place, and next year we got markedly, cleaner water. This is something that's going to take time. It's going to take time as developments occur. But we hope that in the end result is going to be that, number one, everyone's playing under the same rules. All the developments, all the developers are doing the same thing, whether they're in the city of Wichita, whether they're in an unincorporated county, whether in any of the cities, they're playing by the same rules. And then everyone is discharging cleaner water as that water makes its way from the northwest to the southeast.
Well, okay, my last question, then we have commissioners with other questions or comments. I'm very much concerned as someone who lives in an unincorporated part of Sedgwick County with well water. I'm very concerned about the quality and quantity. This is something that's top of mind for my family and my neighbors in my district. Another challenge that we do have, though, is the cost of housing and the cost to build housing. So I want to try to drill down, what is the impact on developers and our home builders? Are they going to see substantial more cost in development and building because of things like this?
I'm going to have Scott Lindebeck, our stormwater manager, come up and discuss that.
Okay. Hi, Scott. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, Commission. The development on terms of, there's two things on the water quality. One would be the treatment of stormwater runoff for new development and redevelopment, and the large number of developments. It varies in terms of rural development versus urbanized development, and what we're probably seeing in more of the unincorporated side is rural development, which could largely be accomplished by taking pasture or farm ground and turning it into grass swales or grass waterways, and that's going to achieve a lot of the water quality. It's a low cost, and it's an effective way of treating pollutants. Now, if it's really close to Wichita, for instance, or another urbanized city such as Goddard or Derby, it might be a denser development where they'll have a stormwater detention pond, a large water body, and that treatment would end up being, we call it the water quality component is a downstream channel protection, and what they do is meter out that water at a slower rate over a 24-hour period. That could have a cost of, you might need about 10% more in space to achieve that goal, or it's a slight design consideration. But those are things that are done by the city of Wichita today for their developments. They're easily able to incorporate that into residential developments and also commercial developments.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you for that. That's helpful in my analysis. Commissioner Blubaugh.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And you may have mentioned it, but help me better understand, as I've seen through the years, we've went to this retention pond model, and now one of the topics coming up in my district is sand pits and the harms to it. And I guess can we just touch a little bit on what best practices are around sand pits and how do we differentiate from, okay, we're setting a retention pond, and I've never seen a retention pond outside of a sand pit, but can we touch on that a little bit, just so I have a little better understanding?
Hey, Susan, welcome.
For the record, Susan Erlenwine, Environmental Resources. I actually have a slide here about sand pits. We worked with Kansas Geological Survey, United States Geological Survey, Kansas Department of Health and Environment, Equisbeds Ground Management District 2, which is up in Halstead, that covers this area, City of Wichita, Wichita Area Builders Association, Kansas Division of Water Resources, Kansas Water Office. So you can see it was federal, state, and local on the sand pit issue that you're mentioning. Sand pits are built for retraction of sand to use on roads and other building issues. There's a picture there of a sand pit here in Sedgwick County. The water you see in that lake is the top of the water table. The water table is very shallow in these areas, so when they're digging the pit out and the sand out, it's filling with the groundwater. So the people living around those, they're actually swimming, boating, fishing in the groundwater. Any chemicals that run off from the development, and I've looked at the City of Wichita with their cooperation, stormwater drains go directly into these lakes. So any oils from the roads, all of that will end up in the lakes. So this study was to determine the impact. Now, to give you an idea, what we did was look at where you see these red dots. We put in monitoring wells north of a sandpit lake to test the water before it goes through. As Lynn already mentioned, groundwater in this area moves northwest to southeast. And then we had 2 monitoring wells south of that. The dots on the right shows that we had a crop area as a basically controlled. There's no development around it. And we did the same thing with the wells north and south of the crop. Then we looked at the moorings. Ridgeport, Barefoot Bay, Kingston Cove, and Pine Bay are all sand pits that have been developed around, of different ages, of housing and development. Pine Bay, for example, had septic tanks and a golf course in the area where the others did not. So we wanted to get a variety of sources. And this graph shows you for one chemical, atrazine. Let's look up at the top. The M is for moorings. This is the upgradient well and the reading. Then the next reading is for in the water itself at the sand pit. So you can see there was a high level of atrazine. Then the next one is the southwest down gradient well, and then the southeast down gradient. You can see the down gradient wells had higher atrazine levels than the up gradient. So whatever's going into the lake continues down gradient into the private water wells south of the lake. You can see Barefoot Bay up gradient in the lake. Look how much higher the down gradient water wells are compared to the up gradient.
Susan, I just want to make sure we're seeing this clearly. Low levels, they enter the sand pit, the levels spike, and then what comes out of the sand pit, the levels stay elevated.
Correct.
Okay.
The crop, however, the control, the C up gradient in the well, lower down gradient than up gradient, where there was no development around the lake. And then the last 2, the red line is Kingston, and then the Pine Bay is the blue line.
So it's my experience on the city council, the northeast part of the county up around Sedgwick, where we had high concentrations of atrazine and creating a plume and slowly moving toward our drinking water.
Yes.
Is this potentially happening with these sand pits as well?
Correct. Okay. So anyone with private water wells in this area will see some hits in it. And it's not just farm chemicals. We're seeing pesticides, DDT, PCBs. Arsenic was one of the chemicals we found in the lakes and in the wells. So it's not totally farm related at all. There's urban impact as well.
Okay. Commissioner Wise?
I don't think I have any questions that haven't already been asked now, but my concerns in District 3 are quality and quantity. It's a concern that we've been talking about probably most since I've sat on this commission. So I want to keep that top of mind. My concern was for developments, and it's always been a concern of how much land that they have to keep aside for these retention or detention ponds. For that to increase, again, is just going to be another hurdle for them. So I think I saw that you guys are working in cooperation with WABA, that they're working with you guys on some of these discussions. Is that true?
Well, I know on the sandpit study, the developers said, just tell us what to do so we're all on the same page, that we all have the same rules to abide by.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to hear what Commissioner Howell has to ask as well, and what feedback you guys can give to his questions, but thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the delay in not doing this 3 weeks ago. And I have, I don't know if my colleagues, if you guys took time to listen to the meeting that happened on November the 14th, 2016, or if you read the minutes. I was hopeful that you guys would do that. I think the conversation then was very well done, actually. So I'll just highlight a little bit of the history that came out of that meeting, which I think is relevant. Is that the county did not have these regulations countywide. We did have regulations that were imposed by state and federal guidelines, if you will, that urban areas had to have these regulations. But what happened in 2010 was the county decided to make it countywide. So they expanded the regulation to parts of the county that did not require it by federal or state government. Am I correct in saying that so far? So what happened in 2016 was a reconsideration of that and a rolling back to what we had prior to 2010. And so what we have today is another reconsideration to go back to what we had in 2010. So this is just going back and forth, if you will. So I looked at some of the minutes, and there's, again, I hate to say this, but there's 40, I'm not going to read it, really any of this, but the meeting lasted for 42 minutes on this topic, and we had 11 pages worth of minutes. And some of the things in there, you're welcome to chime in here, and correct me if I say this incorrectly, but the number one pollutant in this discussion here is?
Farm chemicals.
And are they exempt from this? Farmers are exempt from this regulation regardless.
Correct.
So by passing this regulation, it has nothing to do with farmers.
I would like to add one thing. Through USDA and the Conservation District and NRCS, 46% of the farms in Sedgwick County have now implemented best management practices to stop runoff from their farm fields.
Okay.
So there's cost share money available to the farmers. They are taking advantage of it. And this data I just mentioned is from USDA census that they do of farmers in Sedgwick County and other counties to show that actually farmers are just taking their own step, using their money plus cost share money to implement best management practices to keep the water on the land and not to run off and not to erode their soil, which is beneficial to them. And it's the runoff of the soil that carries the chemicals with them that causes the pollution problem.
But if you look at the pollutants coming off of really a field, for example, and you talked about arsenic, PCBs, DDTs, and who knows what else. What if you were to break that down and look at all of the pollutants in that water? What's the number one pollutant in the water? I'll just give you the answer I'm looking for. It's dirt, soil.
Actually, suspended solids is considered a pollutant.
Right, and then suspended solids, though, it breaks it down to that it is in fact dirt from the field. Go ahead.
Correct. And then that would carry with it actually phosphorus, which is the problem at Lake Afton, where you have nutrients, the fertilizers going in, feeding the algae and causing the algae growth.
Now, suspended solid is not dissolved in the water. It's a solid that's floating in the water.
Correct.
And by the retention pond, it settles to the bottom of the retention pond, and ideally, again, under this theory, it's captured and not sent downstream.
Correct.
Is that true for the other chemicals? that they're suspended solids that they float to the bottom of the retention pond.
Depending on the type of chemical, most of the pollution is from the chemical being attached to the sediment particles that are leaving with the stormwater.
Okay. Regardless, farmers are exempt from this regulation. If we pass this today, this has no bearing on what farmers do in Sedgwick County. Best practices, if they're doing this willingly, voluntarily through other programs, that's totally fine, but they're not subject to this policy today.
Correct.
Okay. One of the questions we had before was how much, we talk about stormwater quality and quantity. The quantity is these developments we're talking about have to have much larger retention ponds to deal with this regulation. So in a place that's not needed, if they presume there could be more developments and more housing that goes in there, they're going to force them to, if you will, gobble up more land and much larger retention pond. That does adds to the cost, and so it changes the way the developments are done. And one of the questions I had during the 2016 meeting was, what's the effect of this regulation on flooding? And the answer was, it was negligible. It was the answer. It's negligible effect. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just know of a new development, say, in Northwest Sedgwick County, where they put a detention pond in, but they're still seeing the effects of flooding of unincorporated residents that live upstream of it. So what you would see is if there was it isn't a 10% addition over the whole development. It's a 10% additional onto the detention pond that's there. So it's a small fraction of what's there. But what it would do is it meter that water out over a slower period of time for the most frequent floods. So the most frequent floods that people experience flooding, they won't see it as frequently just because it's going to be a smaller amount. But what we're seeing is without these, it's a water quality feature. It's called downstream channel protection. It's incorporated in the discussion. But what we're seeing is without that, the people that live downstream of there are seeing their channels erode. They may used to be able to get a tractor across that farm field, but now it's getting wider and deeper, and so it does have a negative impact on the landowners downstream.
Okay, but again, this regulation doesn't change what that farmer does. That channel you're referring to, this in the agricultural field, this doesn't affect that directly. They can do something if they want to willingly, but this regulation doesn't apply to them.
It doesn't. The development that discharges to the farmer, the farmers do show up at the planning commission stage, and they're wanting to make sure that their farm field isn't negatively impacted on the upstream developments.
And so to do this, we're talking about development that doesn't exist, because the retention pond that's required for any development, even outside of one of these urban areas, is going to be sized to manage the stormwater for the development that is going in. So we're talking about enlarging it beyond that. With the speculation, there may be additional housing or whatever added that would use the same infrastructure, but that's presumptive. We don't know that, and so we're going to apply a much more expensive solution to something that may never need that. Those ponds are sized for the developments that we know about. What this does, it actually potentially forces those to be larger than they're needed to be to regulate that water to the standards that we have.
The standards that we do have is just to the one-year storm event, the most frequent rains, and that's what we're proposed. That's what's being proposed, and that's what's required in the city of Wichita for those urban developments.
Okay. I'll just cut to the chase here. I think this is going to pass. I'm going to be opposed. It's going to be probably a 4-1 vote. I think, in my personal opinion, the way I couch this is, the reason they did this in 2010, and it's actually in the minutes here, and we asked the question in 2010, why did we do this? And the answer came back, because it was simpler for staff to have one policy that affects the entire county. It was less about stormwater quality and quantity. It was about simplification, so the same policy applied to the entire county. And I asked the question, Jim Weber, to answer the question, is it hard for staff to figure this out, to go look at a map and figure out whether or not a development is inside or outside this regulation? He said, no, we can work. We'll be fine. They said, it's not a barrier to us. We'll be fine. It's not a major issue. So again, I'll just say the motion to rescind this 6-year policy, the motion to rescind that passed on a 4-1 vote. So we've had it for 6 years since the history of Sedgwick County, between 2010 and 2016. And never in the history of Sedgwick County, we've not had this. Again, I don't want to have more flooding. I don't want to have anybody have bad water wells, but I think that this solution is expensive, and the suspended solids we're talking about are dirt. And the biggest source of dirt is agricultural fields. That's where it comes from. It's not the development that has people living in around a retention pond. That's not the biggest source. Maybe that's a source for things like fertilizer, but that's not a source for things like dirt. That's not where the dirt's coming from. And they have regulations to control that water that leaves that development. That's already in place. Whether we pass this or not, that management of that stormwater is already part of our regulations regardless of this policy today. What we're talking about doing is increasing the regulations for people who don't deserve it, and there is a cost. I'm concerned about affordable housing, and I don't know we need to be regulating people above state and federal regulations. That's what this is. This goes above what state and federal regulations require us to do. This is a higher regulation on our people that has a cost to our people, and it's not going to improve your stormwater flooding issues. It's not going to improve your stormwater quality issues, because the only thing that's in that, the main issue for the suspended solids is dirt that's suspended in the water that will float to the bottom, and a retention pond. The dirt primarily comes from agricultural fields, which are exempt. So again, I don't know that I agree with doing this. I think this is a wrong direction. If somebody wants to make a motion to pass this, please do so. It may get a vote. I'm sure it'll probably pass 4-1. I'm ready to move on. Thank you.
Lynn.
I just want to note, Commissioner Howe, we appreciate your concerns. It's something we talked about over the last 3 weeks as staff, and they're not lost on us. We do not want to go out and overregulate any areas of the county. In this particular instance, though, it is staff's conclusion that it does make sense to exceed federal and state regulations to make a market improvement in the groundwater and our surface water improvements. As Scott noted, when we get those 100, 200-year storms, this is not going to make a market difference in those flooding. But those 1, 5, 10, maybe even up to the 20-year storms, we're going to see a difference in, just because if we can do this countywide and get all the subdivisions on board, and again, like I said, this isn't going to happen tomorrow or next year. It's going to take time as these developments grow. We will see a controlled release of those waters. They're going to release cleaner water, and there's going to be more controlled, so that you are going to see less flooding on those smaller storms that are occurring today. And all of that benefits, not only our drinking water, but our surface water, Lake Afton, Cheney Reservoir, as well as the water we're discharging downstream. But we do appreciate your concerns.
I'll just say this: we probably have to agree to disagree. That's okay. I think that the stormwater quality. We talk about all these chemicals like DDT, arsenic, and PCBs, and who knows what else. I don't think that this strategy has a huge effect on getting those types of things out of this water. I think that they are dissolved in the water, and they're not solids that are floating in the water and dropping to the bottom, but they are dissolved in the water. And having said that, if someone has water flowing across their land and they drink water out of a water well, it's upon them, and we encourage them to test their water regularly for their own health. And if they have other sources of water that is treated water from a municipal water supply that's considered safe and protects that person, that's always a great idea for them to have a municipal water supply that is regulated, if you will, to be safe for human consumption. I don't know that this strategy takes that. Again, a lot of these things are trace elements. Again, if I was to show you a chart and show you how much dirt versus how much arsenic is in this water, it would be a chart that would show you that the dirt is 1,000,000 times higher than the arsenic. Okay, so the arsenic, is it going to come out of the water by going into a detention pond and sitting there for 24 hours? It's not going to. Okay, if there's arsenic in the water, that's a concern, but this isn't going to solve that problem. Meanwhile, if you have a development, let's say they're going to put 10 or 15 houses in a area outside of a urban area where this applies already, according to state and federal regulations. They want to put 15 homes in an area, but you can imagine there might be another 30 or 40 homes outside that. We're going to simply make them put up a detention pond for the maximum number of homes. And in the question, we had a conversation. What would happen if they put in a detention pond that deals with their impact on stormwater? And then later on, there was a larger development that came back in. I think the larger development has to pay for it to improve or to increase the capacity of the stormwater management, okay? I don't know if I want to put that cost on the first development, but that's what this is going to do. So we just need to agree to disagree. I know you guys want this. I think this came from you, Lynn, the Director of Public Works, or maybe Susan. The reason that we're doing this today is because it was suggested by staff. Commissioners didn't want to do this. We've debated this before. But this comes to us from staff. Again, I think you have reasons for wanting to do this, but I don't think it's good for the people. So we might disagree. I'm here to serve the people who live here that have to pay for these regulations. And again, do I think this is going to improve our water quality for someone who's drinking arsenic? I don't think it's going to have an effect on them. This doesn't impact them, unfortunately. Is this going to cause someone to flood or not flood? Unfortunately, I don't think it will, because we already regulate to those levels to make sure those people already have protections in place. This doesn't do that. But this is going to make it better for staff to have one standard for the entire county, and there is going to be a cost to housing. And that's my problem. I can't support this. I'm not going to support this. This is my opinion, more political than it needs to be. We debated this hotly for 42 minutes on November the 14th, 2016. We had a very good discussion, by opinion, no offense to anybody here, but the discussion was much deeper and more detailed than it is today. We made a very thoughtful decision about repealing this regulation, and it passed 4-1 for a reason. I don't like going backwards. I don't think this is good for the people. And I'm not going to support this. If somebody else wants to do it, by all means, I will stand by and let that happen. I'm not going to make a motion to do anything different. You guys do what you like. I can't support this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Lynn, a lot's changed from 2016 to 2025. This is becoming a more urbanized county. The assumption that this does not improve stormwater quality or water quality, particularly in the unincorporated parts, you're an engineer. Do you agree with that sentiment or not?
No, I think that's where we agree to disagree. We believe this is going to happen. Now, I will, admit it, I think Susan can talk to this much more professionally than I can, but no, we're not going to get every pollutant out of the water simply by some of these measures. And if we could, and we could have a minimal impact on development costs, that's something we'd be looking at. But we do want to make improvements where we can, and this was what we consider to be a minimal impact on development that, yes, does help staff in regulating these codes. But in addition, it also makes it easier for developers who are working in the county, because they're working under one code and not just 20 different codes based on what city they're on.
Is this what City of Wichita, are we matching what City of Wichita does on these things? Is that what's happening? Okay.
That's correct.
It feels to me like we're walking up into a conversation with finding a balance between regulation versus costs, particularly in these developments. And it's not a conversation, it's a comfortable conversation at any level, because we have problems on both sides. We have the cost of development. We also have the challenges with water. I will tell you, as someone who lives in the unincorporated parts of the county and who wants to be a steward over the voices that I represent, water quality and quantity is one of the #1 issues in my district. It is one of the #1 issues in my district. And I think that as someone who's voting on these things and leading in these conversations, that I'm expected to try to deal with some of these challenges. And you believe that this is a step in a direction that helps to deal with water quality in unincorporated parts of Sedgwick County?
We do.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Meitzner is still on. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the amendments to the Sedgwick County Stormwater Management Code. A motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Buba?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
No.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Aye.
Chairman Beatty.
Aye. Okay, thank you, staff. Thank you, Lynn. Appreciate it. Susan, Scott, appreciate all the work you're putting into this. Okay, Madam Clerk, next item.
Item G, resolution of Sedgwick County Board of County Commissioners rescinding certain personnel policies and procedures.
Hey, Tom.
Chairman, good morning. Good morning, Commission. Tom Stoles, County Manager's Office. I am going to discuss a rescinding of a current policy within our policy manual. It's the grievance policy, but I want to give just a bit of a history and a statement first. In the last 7 years, since your current management team has been in place, we have created or amended numerous policies to professionalize the county organization and to protect county employees within their workplace, despite Kansas being a right-to-work state. This includes the following policies. In 2022, we created a dispute resolution policy. We have amended conflict of interest policy, protections and workplace violence policies, protections and workplace discrimination policies. We created a code of ethics. We have amended and protected employees against gifts and gratuities infractions. And the two most important policies, and one I'm going to talk about here today, is progressive discipline and grievance policies. There are over 2,800 employees with Sedgwick County, and these policies were created and amended to equitably protect them as best as possible. However, due to the complexity of county government makeup, which is unlike a city government makeup where you have a pyramid structure underneath a manager, there is a disbursement of power among various other elected and appointed officials within the county structure. For example, the sheriff office works under a civil service policy and is separate and distinct from most county policies. Similarly, you have a DA's office, the 3 row offices of treasurer, clerk, and deeds, all independently elected officials who work under the umbrella of Sedgwick County government. Add to the fact that we have appointed offices of the appraiser and election commissioner, plus a county engineer and fire chief who report directly to the county commission, and you can begin to see the difficulty regarding a universal organizational policy. In 2019, we created a policy review committee where we have 13 people set around the table, including HR and legal, all of these elected in row offices, and we talk about policies together and we try to ratify policies that are good for the organization. The spirit behind the policies that we have attempted to set is to exempt the actual elected or appointed employee who work directly for the voters, but to include and give due process to the county employees who work for the elected offices. The process has worked for years until we have recently had a matter regarding a situation in an elected office where we tried to apply county policy to an employee. The elected official in the office did not agree with the policy issue, in this case involving the grievance policy, which has caused us to re-examine the organizational grievance policy. Independent elected officials have much autonomy regarding how they handle matters in their own offices, independent from my office, the manager's office, and even the BOCC oversight. We are presently working to resolve the employee matter, but the situation has exposed problems within the grievance policy and the employee rights within those offices. To summarize, we know we have a policy that has issues. Normal course of action, this is not the first time. Normal course of action is to rescind the policy, gather all the stakeholders together, and fix it. The recommended rescinding of this policy is simply to give us a chance to reconcile with the row offices and other elected offices on how to manage the policy in a manner that makes them comfortable. As such, the Human Resource Office, the County Counselor's Office, and my office are recommending the temporary rescinding of the organizational grievance policy until such a time that we can give it a thorough review and make it inclusive to all the other elected and row offices so they have input in what the revision looks like. I'll stand for any questions. Be glad to talk about it.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Appreciate the background on what we're doing here in the conversation. I would say, as we get ready to entertain some comment and questions from the commission, a couple priorities here. And very broad priorities. The first one is staffing stability has been a priority for this commission and the previous commission. It's been a big priority here. Looking back in 2022, if you saw some of the staffing challenges that we had some departments was in the 60s in staffing, 70s in staffing, and it really impacted our efficiency to perform services and our outputs. So it's been a significant area of focus. Today, we're looking at roughly 91% staffing for the county. We are full staffed as a county. That's 3,000 employees. We've also invested almost $88 million incremental since 2022 into staffing. That's not only just been our capacity to attract a workforce, but to retain our workforce. So staffing stability is a big thing. And when we entertain policies surrounding how we manage staff, particularly in this setting, I think it's really important that we underlie it all by saying this is a big, important focus for the county commission and for county management is what we do with our staff. The second thing is it's also been vocalized publicly is we also want to empower our other electeds. You alluded to it, but we have a policy right now that is at odds with some of our electeds and what statutorily they have the authority to do in their offices. So I appreciate the capacity and the opportunity to come back and say, hey, we have a policy with some gaps and some holes that we have to fix this policy. But we also want to do that with the protections of our staff in place and make sure our staff here is loud and clearly that we very much care about their morale, their capacity to operate, and the stability of our staff. So I think this is important that we're having this conversation. I appreciate that you guys are elevating it so that we can take another look at this thing. Any questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Wise?
Tom, I know that this is kind of a one-off situation that brought this up to surface and causing us to relook at it. I'm wondering, is there a reason why we rescind before we see a revised version of it? Is there, we don't, in my short experience on this commission, we have really happy employees at Sedgwick County. We've done a really good job. So I guess that leads to that question of why do we rescind before we revise or
That's a good question, Commissioner. And normally I would say, yes, we would revise on the fly. This matter and this particular policy raised to a level where, and Justin and I worked on this for a couple of weeks, the county councilor and I think it raised to a level where there was potential lawsuit, potential culpability regarding the county and this particular policy. I always look out for employees first, but who I really look out for first is taxpayer, and anything that jeopardizes taxpayers has priority with my office. So we will get this fixed, but to answer your question directly, I don't feel comfortable rescinding on the fly necessarily on this because of the culpability perspective. I think it'll take 2 weeks to 30 days probably to get all of the players together to come back with a revision for the commission to consider. But that's up to the commission. If you want to, for us to try to do that, we'd be glad to do the best we could.
Commissioner Howe? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Commissioner Howe.
Thank you, Chairman. Just your last comment there. If I understand correctly, without getting into any details, I think the issue that caused this discussion has been resolved as far as I know. And so the urgency for this appears to be not there, I guess. There is not a reason why we would want to rescind this today, that we could not just wait, even if it took 2 or 3 months to come up with amendments to this discussion with others. I think that there is no urgency to do this today, is there?
The only urgency would be is if we had another grievance that was similar in nature to this that would come up now and between the time we've revised the policy. Then we've got ourselves back into a situation to try to, policies are, especially in an organization like this, are a lot of work. Do the best we can. When we see flaws, we try to fix. And I generally don't like to make a mistake twice. So I think we have a mistake in the policy we need to fix, and I'd rather not repeat it. But again, I say if that's the commission's will, that we amend this on the fly, we'd be glad to do that.
I believe this. I'm concerned for a couple of reasons here. I don't think there is an urgency to do this today, and correct me if I'm wrong, but typically we have, 4 or 5 of these kinds of cases in a year.
Not that many, sir.
Not even that many. So if we needed to take a couple of months to have a discussion, and again, if we did have a case that came up, and then all your time you've been at the county, even in going way back, I don't know there's been very many cases where it's caused a conflict necessarily between the grievance board and yourself. I understand the manager has essentially it has been, under the policy, has been the final decision maker on what should happen in a case. You take the recommendations of the grievance board, for example, but it's ultimately your responsibility to make a decision. And I don't know how often it would happen that the grievance board is on a different side of a manager. Say a manager does something and the grievance board goes the other way, and then maybe there's an additional conflict by the time it gets to you. I mean, to have something that's so conflicting, I think, is a little unusual. Usually these cases are fairly straightforward, and I don't know that we have cases like this very often. So I guess the chance of having something happen like that in the next few weeks or next couple of months is I think, remote. But here's my concern. My concern is if we rescind this today, I think it sends the wrong message to our employees. We've spent a lot of money and a lot of time to bolster our employment, the morale in the workplace. We've tried to do all kinds of things to bolster the morale and to encourage the employees that they're going to be treated professionally. And I think we have, if I go back 10 years or even some period of years before you, Tom, I think the county had a bit of a negative reputation. Perhaps the employees didn't necessarily feel like they had a fair shake. If something went wrong in the workplace, they might have accusations of retaliation or whatever might happen. We've gone out of our way to, again, this is not required by law that we even do this at all. Correct. But I think this is a good thing to help our employees know they're going to get a fair shake, a fair chance to state their side. If there's controversy between, if someone says, I think I was unfairly treated in the workplace, there is an independent, unbiased, or different board of people who can look at the information around that case and make a decision that is binding. At least at that point, it can override, if you will, the manager or director or whatever it was that made that decision. Ultimately, I'm not sure this is the policy today, but before we revised this, I think last year, I think you had the right basically to even come in again. Before, I don't know if it's in there today, but we had given you the right before to come in again, if you will, and override the recommendations of the grievance board. So there was a multi-step process. In fact, let me use the word due process. It was due process that gave our employees an opportunity to be heard and have someone look at their side of the conflict that was unbiased, that wasn't connected to the issue. And I think that's a good thing. I'll point out a couple things here. This was actually adopted originally back in May of 1988, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Grievance, yes.
Yeah, this policy's going on since basically more than 37 years. We've had this policy. And maybe I'm misremembering once again. I hate to say I do that once in a while, but the last time when I became aware of the intent to put this on the agenda and rescind this policy was last Thursday, 6 days ago. And I objected right then on the spot, saying, I don't know that we should be doing that. We need some time to think about it. On Friday at the agenda review, I brought this up again. Said, I don't know if we should be doing this. In fact, it was on consent, which is supposed to be non-controversial. And I would say, obviously, this is controversial, at least it was to me, on Thursday, again on Friday. And we moved it to regular business for this discussion today. I'll say one other thing is we have, I think we've treated our employees very well. We've given them much respect. We've been very professional with them, and this is part of that relationship. And as a consequence, we have not had a unionized workforce. Like Wichita has a unionized workforce, and these employees may desire that. But I think this issue of due process speaks to this issue of whether or not they feel like unionization is important to them or not. Having due process, I think, really checks a big box for them, that they know they're going to be treated fairly and professionally by the workplace, even if they're placed in a position where there's a natural conflict between them and their supervisor. They're going to be treated professionally, and if they're not, they have a way to get that fixed or addressed. So I'm concerned about the message it sends to our employees. I don't know that it's likely that you're going to see conflict between the grievance board and the opinion of yourself and other managers. They're removed from the situation. They would look at this and say, we probably agree with the grievance board if it did exist. Most of the time there's agreement. I don't think there's disagreement. The grievance board might disagree with the person that made a decision, but that's kind of why it's there. But going above that grievance board, I don't know there's very many times where there's disagreement at that point. I am also very concerned that if we rescind this, we actually have to act to bring it back. And I hate to say this, but I don't trust us to do that. I think there's a possibility we rescind this and it never comes back. So I don't want to do that. I think it's better for us to take the time to hash this out. And by the way, I have submitted, if you will, what I think to be a reasonable solution to the problem, and I don't want to go through that here, but if you want to bring this up at a staff meeting or share it with my colleagues in some way, because of COMA, I can't do that directly, but I believe there's a fairly easy solution to this concern. I don't think it's all that difficult. Ultimately, I respect the elected official to make a decision, ultimately, but I want there to be some checks and balances between an initial decision to do something to an employee and before that final decision of that elected official. There ought to be a number of things that need to happen, and the grievance board is one of those things. And if the grievance board says we disagree with this, the elected official still has the right to do what they want to do. I'm not going to take that away from them with this policy. We need to recognize their authority to make that final decision. But I think the grievance board at least would say, we recommend you don't do this because there's another side of the story, and we see the employee side. And they might even go on and say maybe there'll be an illegal review of the case and say, if you pursue this, that creates, if you will, a taxpayer liability to the county. We really recommend you don't do this. Again, ultimately they can still do it. But I think those are two steps that would give them pause not to do something that might cause us to be liable with property tax dollars to end up paying someone because we shouldn't have done what we did. So again, I would urge the commission to push this off. I would like to see a delay of a couple of months while we work on an amendment to this. That'd be a reasonable motion. But I really don't think that making a motion to rescind this today is appropriate, and I believe it seems rushed. I have great concerns about whether it will ever come back, and I think it sends a very, very negative message to our employees, and I really don't like that at all. So I would urge us not to do this. Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you. Tom, how many do we know annually or historically, how many grievances in your tenure as county manager?
Since I've been manager, which is coming up on 7 years, I think we've had 3. 3 in 7 years, okay. Very rare. I do want to say, I don't want to send the wrong message to employees. This is important to us. The other thing I want to talk about is the progressive discipline policy. We created the progressive discipline policy within this leadership team to ensure our employees have due process. There has to be a progressive discipline pattern before we take somebody's livelihood away. It's very important to me and to the leadership team. The issue with the grievance board, one of the things I want to do correct is in the current grievance policy, the grievance policy board decision is final. So I don't have a trumpability of it. The elected official doesn't have a trumpability. Not even the people have a trumpability, and that's part of my heartburn with the policy. I think that there needs to be a step past that, which is, I think, when we dig into this. I also want to make it clear, Commissioner, we've worked together a long time, and you and I have talked about this. This has to come back. I can't remove a due process right for an employee and let it go. We'd have to bring it back as quickly as possible so that we have good policy going forward, and we'll do the best we can to craft it with a joint committee of people sitting together, including all the stakeholders. And it's on the fire agenda too, and I think Chief Williams ought to have a shot, and I think that our advisory board in fire ought to have a shot at this. So that said, you and I are on the same page. You and I have talked about this. I've seen what you've recommended. I think there are germane points in that ought to be considered, and I think as we sit down to craft this, we need to consider the partners.
Okay. Commissioner Howe?
So just to be clear, the case that's before, so I can't talk about the details, but let's just make one point here. Despite the fact that we have a policy that says it's final, it's not final. We know that elected official, by law, has a right to do something that goes against the policy because it's truly not final. By very simple legal opinion here, the elected official has the right to do what they want to do no matter what that policy says. That's the way it is today. So if we don't rescind this and we have this conflict comes up and an elected official says, I want to do this anyway, we can't stop them. They have that authority legally.
Yeah, you raised the problem of the policy, which creates the legal challenge where you have an employee who thinks they have certain rights and an elected official who is not going to get, that becomes the culpability perspective that we have to fix in this going forward.
Well, and I understand that. I guess the policy should say that. That would be a very simple amendment, okay, to add that to the policy. That's like a sentence, okay? That's not very difficult to do that. But I think that in practice, what we've discovered is that the elected official does have the right to say, I'm not under that policy, I'm exempt. That's a very simple interpretation of that policy. Says they don't, as it says right now, if we don't rescind this, they're not subject to that policy right now. So we don't have to do anything to deal with that controversy because there really is none. That elected official has authority right now. Whether we rescind this or not, it doesn't matter.
Under the current policy, the elected offices are under the policy. Something has to give. And if they want out of the policy, then I think they can be out of the policy, and then that swath of employees may or may not have due process rights. I don't worry about the sheriff, because the sheriff has his own due process. He has a civil service board, and I know the sheriff well. He has good due process in his organization. But the rest of the organization, we try to do the best we can as a county umbrella to protect the county, to give the employees rights, and to protect the taxpayers so that we're getting good quality service and not creating problems with our employees. So it's important. I think we're on the same page on this. Up to the commission whether you want to defer and we'll do it on the fly, or whether you want to rescind and we'll work as fast as we can to get it back in front of this body.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Blueball.
Thank you, Chairman. Tom, it sounds like from what you've stated, historically, we're seeing about one grievance case every 2 years. Is there an opportunity, maybe if we do go forward, we rescind this, we go back to the drawing board, is there a way maybe to put, if a new grievance comes up, into like a limbo to where we could address it later after the policy, rather than just telling somebody, nope, we don't have any kind of grievance policy right now?
Yeah, let me look at the county counselor on that and see if I think what you're suggesting. And really, Justin and I have talked about this. Is really kind of a moratorium on the grievance policy until we get this reconciled.
Sure.
If we could call it that, I'm fine with that too.
Justin Wagner, County Councilor, Commissioner Blueball, I think that's a good question. I do think there's a certain need for timeliness on the decisions when there's a grievance that's been considered. So I think it's kind of one of those things where you'd either have the policy in place and follow it, or not have the policy in place. But Tom described aptly, I think the thought process in this was to take this under study, involve the stakeholders, and come back with a cleaner version. So I think I hope that helps answer your question. I don't know that we could do that very easily, because it'll take some time, and these grievances, again, we like to resolve pretty quickly. And when they are filed, it takes time to get everything together, get them scheduled, get the hearing heard. And so I think it would leave things in kind of a limbo, unfortunately.
But if we did rescind the policy and we came up with a new policy, there would always be an opportunity to go back retroactive if we wanted to. Is that accurate?
We'd have to give some thought to that, Commissioner. May depend on the nature of the grievance and the timing involved.
Yeah. I tell you what, I think just listening to the tenor of the conversation and listening to what Tom's wanting to accomplish, also talking to row offices and considering all this, and then hearing what Commissioner House had to say, I think the safest route, because there aren't a lot of grievances that come forward, I think the safest route is to defer. That way there is a policy in place. It's not a perfect policy. We're acknowledging that this policy has holes. We've got to move quickly on this policy. Tom, would you be comfortable with 30 days? Do we need 60 days? 60 days safe?
Sure, we'll do as fast as we can, but give us 60, but I think we can beat it.
Okay. I'll make a motion to defer item G until the first meeting in November.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second.
Chairman,
Commissioner Howell?
Can we make it so that it can come back to us earlier than that if it's ready? I mean, can we make it so that we'll address it again in November if there's not progress made, we can come back and discuss it again. But if it comes back in 3 weeks and we have a plan to fix because again, I think some of this is pretty easy. I think we ought to be able to amend this sooner than that, if possible.
Yeah, I'll amend it. Yeah.
And I just want to say one thing else. Also, Tom, I think you're a great manager, and this is not about you in any way. I think this is about our employees. And I understand rescinding this is an easy way to solve this. I hate being on opposite sides of you because I feel like we need to agree on a lot of things. And so this is not about you in any way. I'm just concerned about how the employees will feel about removing their due process. So again, just leaving this in place and coming back with urgency to get this fixed, I think is our best plan.
Yeah, no, and I think everybody understands here what we're trying to accomplish. So, okay, I'll amend my motion. I'll make a motion to rescind or to defer item G until at the latest date, first meeting of November.
Second.
Motion a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blubow?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Aye.
Chairman Beatty?
Aye. Okay. Thank you, Tom. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item H, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts regular meeting, August 28th, 2025.
Hey, Joe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Purchasing Director. The Board of Bids and Contracts, our regular meeting of August 28th. We have 2 items for you. Our first one is Cox Commercial Services Agreement with the Sheriff's Office. This recommendation is to accept the quote from Cox Communications Kansas LLC, also Cox Kansas Telecom, and it's in the amount of $56,760 for a period of 60 months. And our final item, 2 each of the current year half-ton police package crew cab trucks for Fleet Management and Sheriff's Office. This recommendation is to accept the low bid meeting specifications from Don Hatton Chevrolet in the amount of $93,856. I'll be happy to answer any questions and recommend approval.
Okay, we have 2 items here. Any questions or comments for Joe? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Bids and Contracts regular meeting on August 28th, 2025.
Second.
Motion is second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blubow?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Aye.
Chairman Beatty?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to pause the Sedgwick County Board of Commission meeting, and we're going to call to order the governing body of Fire District Number 1. Call the meeting to order for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. Madam Clerk, first item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Blubow?
Present.
Commissioner Wise?
Present.
Commissioner Howell?
Present.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Present.
Chairman Beatty?
Present. Next item.
Public agenda.
There is no one signed up for public agenda. We'll keep moving. Next item, please.
New business, item A, resolution of Sedgwick County Fire District Number 1 rescinding certain personnel policies and procedures.
Hey, Tom.
Chairman, I'd ask for the same motion that Commission just made under general agenda for this.
Makes a lot of sense. We'll tackle this together. Okay. I'll make a motion to defer item A until the at the latest date, first meeting in November.
Second.
Motion is second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blubow?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Aye.
Chairman Beatty?
Aye. Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
There's nothing on consent agenda. We'll keep moving. Next item.
Other.
Anything under other for the fire district? Okay, seeing none. Next item.
Executive session.
We have no executive session, so I'll adjourn the governing body of Fire District Number 1. Bring us back to the Board of County Commission meeting. Next item.
Consent agenda.
Tom?
Chairman of Commission Tom Stolz, County Manager. Again, recommend approval of consent items I through double letter AF.
Okay, Commissioners, we've all had a chance to review and discuss the consent agenda. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blubow?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Aye.
Chairman Beatty?
Aye. Next item, please.
Legislative issues.
We have no legislative issues. Moving on, next item.
Federal grants discussion.
Nothing under federal grants. Look at us go. Next item, please.
Committee reports.
Commissioners, any committee reports you'd like to share with the public? Okay, seeing none. Next item.
Other.
Anything under other? Commissioner Howell.
Mr. Chairman, this is kind of a legislative issue. I just wanted to reflect a little bit on it seems like it's been in the news in the last few weeks, especially the amount of violence we're seeing in the community. And I hear a lot of the people talking about what are we going to do about this? What's causing this to happen? And those are the discussions that are happening. I'd just like to point out, I guess, my personal opinion, and I wish I could get a news story on this, but I think this is there should be a correlation made between Senate Bill 367, which passed in 2016. That was a total rewrite of the juvenile justice laws for the state of Kansas. And in doing that, they made it so that juveniles, essentially, it's almost impossible to charge them with crime. And if you look at the crime statistics for juveniles in the state of Kansas, including Sedgwick County, the crime trends have dropped off the chart, if you will. I don't think that's real. I think the reality is what we're not doing is charging children with the things that they're doing. There's no consequences for the behavior that they have, and so a couple of other things that are happening is, people that are, let's say, older, say 21 or older, even those that are 18 and older, they will pressure, I think, younger people to commit the acts of violence, because if they get caught, the law is softer on them should they be caught. And so I have been working for years to address some of the consequences of Senate Bill 367. And this year we have House Bill 2329. We got that bill through the Kansas House last session, and we're working to see if we can get this bill to move forward through the Senate and the next session. But it does a couple of things. But one thing it does is it does create penalties for juveniles that are caught in possession of a firearm that currently does not exist. Today, the presumptive consequence of a juvenile caught in possession of a firearm, frankly, is nothing. And we have somewhere between 40, 50, 60 youth in a year that are caught in possession of a firearm. How many of those youth are not caught that have firearms, we don't know, but there must be lots more. And the reality is, if there's a gang fighting going on, there's drug issues happening, or someone loses their temper, I think the respect for life has been detrimental to the current generation. They don't seem to value life the way we did maybe a generation or two ago. They're willing to take a gun out and commit violent acts, and I think they feel pressure to do so. And so I am a board member of the Kansas State Rifle Association. I'm on the board of directors. I'm very, very pro-Second Amendment. I can't tell you how much I value the Second Amendment for law-abiding citizens. But this is a societal problem when we have youth that are getting stolen guns. They're stealing them out of cars. And a lot of our youth that are committing these crimes, their culture is they carry guns. And it's just a matter of time until they take it out and use it. So you wonder what's really going on here. We have family breakdown. We have culture changes that are causing, I think, children to be willing to use that gun in an act of violence. But even more basic than that, we have children that are caught with firearms that we don't do anything with them because the law is so soft. There's no consequences for a 15-year-old with a stolen gun. It's in a stolen car and it gets caught by the police. There's nothing we can do. So Senate Bill 367, in my opinion, was well-intentioned. There's lots of taxpayer savings that have happened. We've saved some taxpayer money, but I think the true cost of this law is not realized, because what we see right now is children using guns in all types of crimes, and when they use a firearm, the adjudication costs are huge. Incarceration of that person for decades is not being calculated. And so at the end of the day, we have a system right now that doesn't do reasonable things. The judges' hands have been tied. The district attorney's hands have been tied. Corrections staff, their ability to do anything that makes any sense has been hugely limited. And people wonder what is going on in our society that's causing these children to commit acts of violence and shoot, using guns in the community. I think it's traced backwards to, if you will, nearly a generation now or not a generation, a decade now of bad law. And so House Bill 2329, thankfully, I had the sheriff and the DA both testify in favor, as well as Judge Macias testified in favor of that bill. We had corrections staff from Sedgwick County testified in favor of that bill. This bill will have a very basic, it will help our community deal with this problem. Right now, we're not dealing with this problem. And so you wonder why we have children that are, another 16-year-old, I think this weekend, I think I saw the age was 16. Why does a 16-year-old have a gun shooting somebody at a liquor store? Why is that happening? Well, because these 16-year-olds are carrying guns, stolen out of cars. So if you want to know what's really going on, I would trace it back to the failure of Senate Bill 367. One more thing I'd say, if they do commit a violent crime and someone gets hurt or injured or killed, they generally make motions for adult prosecution to get them to the adult system so they can actually prosecute these children in the adult system. And we used to have three or four motions for adult prosecution in a given year. That number has skyrocketed up to 20, 30, even 40. I don't know how many exactly, but much higher numbers of motions for adult prosecution, because you can't really seek a conviction for crimes like that in the juvenile system, because 367 tied the hands of everybody involved. So we have a problem that legislation has been created that's caused this to happen. We're dealing with the problems right now that this has caused in our community, and we need House Bill 2329 to pass. If I can encourage once again news stories to pick this up, I like our city partners to understand what's really going on and speak to this and help us get this law passed. We need help to pressure the legislature to agree. And right now, the next stop on this bill is Senator Kelly Warren, the chair of Senate Judiciary, is the next stop on this bill. And this bill may or may not be heard because they may not see that this is important to the state. It is very important to us here in Sedgwick County. I speak to this because I feel like as county commissioners, we have an awareness of what's going on here, and the solution that we need is not within our own umbrella. It is a legislative problem, and we need a legislative solution, but someone needs to stand up and, if you will, fight for what makes sense. And I want this commission to take this more seriously and act like this is a big deal. You think about all the things in Sedgwick County that impact our community. Violence is a pretty big one. If you think our community is unsafe, because every single day you turn on the radio or the TV and you see another shooting, someone else got killed, and you look at the perpetrators that's causing these crimes to happen, many times it's children. So we have a problem here in Sedgwick County. And I need not just me to speak to this, I need the community to rise up and speak to this. House Bill 2329 will hopefully get this fixed. Mr. Chairman, I just implore the community, especially our friends across the street, Wichita, City Council, and law enforcement friends and everybody else to understand that there is a solution out there. We know what the problem is. We know what caused this to happen. This may not solve every problem, but it will be a step in the right direction that's going to have huge dividends if we get this to pass. So, Mr. Chairman, I just ask for more support any way we can get it. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner, appreciate that. I'm excited about, eager really, for the legislative platform that will be advancing, because I know this will be a part of it. Okay, anything else under other? Okay, Madam Clerk, next item.
Executive session.
And we have no executive session. Time is 11:23, and we are done with the business. Anything else need to come before the commission? Seeing none, we're officially adjourned. Have a good day.